Well, good morning. This is Kerry Siders with the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service in Hockley, Cochran, and Lamb counties, the IPM program. Well, it's Tuesday, September 1st. I'm out checking peanuts this morning. We've had some scattered rain showers over the weekend, and we've been able to maybe shut some water off in some places. And in fact, as I've been looking at peanuts this morning, I've been seeing a little bit of indication that some of these pods are what we call doing a little bit of a hull split, and that's where we get maybe a little excessive moisture where it may have been a little dry. So it's something we really got to manage the water properly at this time of the year. We're primarily just finishing out those last pods, those ones that are still about the size of a pea. We can still fill out to full size, have plenty of time to mature those out. Pegs that are, just trying to swell, that are at soil surface, probably will not have time to make a harvestable pod at this time, but who knows? It's, I guess, even like on cotton, it's, there's always wishful thinking that a small boll that was just formed in the last week may contribute to yield, but odds are that's not going to be the case. We'll run out of heat units sufficient time here that won't be allowed to make it. But on the water situation, the primary goal at this point, yes, it is to fill those last pods. They need moisture, but it's mainly just to keep that plant fresh. We're not growing the plant anymore. We're just filling pods. So, and we got to be consistent about that. It may take as little as 3/4 of an inch to as much as just an inch per week, and so try not to exceed that, particularly when we do get some rainfall. The temperatures have moderated somewhat. We may get up into the mid-90s this coming weekend, but Labor Day weekend, but as the trend now is mostly going to be in the low 80s to mid-80s, and in fact, as we look at the long-term forecast next week, we're looking at probably closer to the mid-70s. So irrigation is really critical at this point in terms of managing it, not doing too much, but just enough to keep that crop fresh, keep it filling those pods. Still not have seen much in the way of foliage disease. Pods are relatively clean in terms of pod rots. We're not seeing pod rots, but what we are seeing is what's known as black hull. Black hull, you'll see a black pod, and if you take your fingernail and scratch that off, it's somewhat superficial. It can cause problems at harvest in terms of being docked for pod color, but it is superficial. It does not affect the peanuts themselves so much. Here's a plant that's very fresh. It's got good clean pods. You can see some of these. If we look at this peanut right here, it may have time to make versus something like this real small one, or some of these other small ones probably don't have time. But this is a clean plant in terms of foliage. The pods, we're not seeing leaf spot on here, and so really a peanut crop is maybe one of our bright spots. And in fact, we've got a lot of half circles, quarter circles of peanuts where they came back and planted grain sorghum. The situation here is such that you can probably divert some of that irrigation over and try to help add some weight to that grain. If it's past flowering or at flowering or beyond, it'll sure help that grain, because I know I've encouraged a lot of our producers to keep that water on the peanuts. It's the primary money crop in this situation, not that grain. But now that we've got maybe a little stored moisture on these peanuts, we need to back off a little bit. You might be able to divert a few days of water over on the grain sorghum. So all in all, we're in pretty good shape. We are seeing a little bit of worm activity, but well below threshold. Threshold's going to be in that 6 to 7 per foot, row foot. I think the highest I've counted so far this morning was 2 per row foot. Seeing a little bit of grasshopper activity along edges, but nothing really to get overly concerned about. This is Kerry Siders. Have a great day.